Well, hello, Richard.
Hey!
Cool.
Good afternoon!
Right on. Oh, right into it. Kiln.
The kiln. It's an old drafting table from like the 60s, and
Sure.
I kind of use that as my easel. Those are oil. I've been doing colored pencil drawings and trying to get back into oil painting. Those are all oil paintings in the works.
What's that right there?
Oh, I was going to do a couple Nacho Libre wrestlers in the desert, but I haven't decided yet.
Totally. I like the winter spaceship.
That's the local post office. The brewery in town, the Julian Beer Company, their most famous beer is called the Martian. Sometimes I just make paintings for fun, you know? Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a Martian dropping off a mail at the post office.
What's your name?
My name's Richard Shokouh.
And you are?
I'm an artist. I do different types of glass art. I do paintings. I do drawings. I just fired my kiln. I haven't pulled everything out of it yet. That's a kiln piece. I refired it and it fused again, and my next process is I'm going to slump it in a slumping mold like that. Yeah, I got these big bowl slumping molds. I'm going to slump it in this and make it into a bowl. I just ordered another $500 worth of molds, like really cool ones.
Right on.
Yeah, like 10 or 12 different molds. You know, I put a lot of old art pieces around. There's my diploma. Fine art. I'm a fartist. It's a process of exploration with my glass fusing and mixing things together. And this is kind of another experiment where I make something like this in the kiln. I'm trying to make these abstract flowers lately. And all these are local desert flowers, and it's just kind of like a new subject matter for me. So I'll make this glass on a kiln shelf, and then like this blue purple is going to end up being another flower. Different types of glass. Frit, you can have powder, chunks, and sometimes, you know, big pieces like this. You know, like these pieces of the flower were big pieces that I added pigment, frit on, and that's what's making all the little dots. You know, things happen in the kiln that are completely unexpected. And sometimes I pull something out of the kiln and when I first see it, I think it's ruined. And then it ends up becoming something different. And sometimes it becomes something better.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, like, discovery process, fusing glass, because when it goes into the kiln, it looks entirely different compared to when it comes out. So I've been getting into slumping these little things, you know, keeping with the flower theme. I've been making these, I call these splash trays. I'm trying to mimic water. I have splash trays and fire trays and bush trays. And that's a bush tray right there. I used to only do two-dimensional stuff, and now I'm getting into three-dimensional molds. I just did a firing the other day, and I'm going to take a look and see what happened, and I can see that exploded. It didn't turn out. Glass wants to be about 1/4 inch thick. If it's an 1/8 of an inch too thick and it gets too hot too fast or cools down too fast, this will happen. Looks like I got a couple good ones on the bottom shelf. I got a little apple here. I've been making these little apple plates, coasters, whatever you want to call them. Another one. This is the same mold that I made this one with. So interesting how you can get two totally different looking objects from this exact same mold. Though they sell those like that.
Oh.
Yeah, they have tons of different shapes. Yeah, each of those different colors are all different pieces of frit. Here's the frit. This is like a chunky gray. Here's an orange transparent. It's all about mixing sheets of glass with frits of glass and fusible glass that's been cut and shaped. This is what I started this with. And I added frit. Some of it's like a powder. Others are like small stones. You can get fine or coarse. So it's almost like mixing pigment, like with like an oil paint. This one came out nice. Kind of trying to mimic like the look of like a dried out oak leaf or something. You know, like autumn colors. I was going to cut this piece and start splitting up the flowers into a design, because you know some people like to map out their designs in advance. The piece I did for the Santa Clarita Harley Davidson, I had to completely map it all out in advance because we got it approved through the Los Angeles Art Commission, so they wanted to have everything laid out. It had to be an approved plan. That was interesting for me because I usually don't work that way. You know, I usually kind of just throw some colors in the kiln with an idea of what I want to get, and then I end up getting something, you know, sometimes I get something totally different from what I want, and I still try to cut it up. This was not supposed to be like this. This was not supposed to end up being a big purple blue blob. This is prepping. You hit it real quick with a sander because sometimes you get little pieces of glass stuck into the primer from the last firing. Shelf primer, the powder, you got to mix 5 parts water, 1 part powder. So the purpose of this primer is just so that glass doesn't melt into the shelf. 3 or 4 coats. Okay, so I think that's good. I'll just let that dry in the sun for now. So which flower to chop? This is kind of how my process always starts in the kiln. I want to separate because I want to add lines in between, and the way to do that is to cut the glass. So I usually start with the easiest line to cut, which I think is this. And we'll see if I get a good cut with my diamond glass cutter. Okay, that is, I can work with that. Because I have a saw outside that I can resort to if need be. Now I need to get the trash can here, because once you start chopping glass, you make a mess. You gotta get rid of it, or else you can't cut another piece.
Are your fingers completely hardened?
Oh, my fingers are pretty tough. This looks like the easiest one to get. So, there we go. And then this. whoops. Okay, see that one didn't cut exactly the way I wanted, but it's still salvageable. So I'm trying to make a perspective here of a flower going off into the distance.
What's your genre?
I have no idea. I mean, this flower is pretty abstract here. Some of my stuff is like pretty representational, and sometimes it comes out pretty abstract, you know? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of, what would you call that? Post-modernist? I think, they used to everything. You're either an expressionist or an abstractionist or a cubist. And kind of nowadays, I think you're free to do what you want. You know, you don't necessarily have to be labeled or belong to a certain movement. This one might require a saw, but we're going to give it a try. But, came off. So what I can do is I can cut each one of these individually and reassemble them. I'll have a beautiful red flower when it's all said and done. Oops. See, sometimes they don't happen the way you want them to go, especially when the glass is really thick. It comes off in pieces. I might want to use my wet saw for this. Okay, so I have tile cutting saw, and this is a glass art saw. This is like a band saw, so you can kind of make sweeping curves. So I usually go back and forth between them, because like this right here, right along this edge, I can probably use that saw, and it's way quicker. So. But it's got that nice bend there. This is basically as fast as you can go with this saw. But you can make nice rounded edges. Yeah. I'm going to take this to here, and then I can cut a straight line with that one. I think this one I might be able to get with this. We're going to take a gamble here. The glasses. Oh, see? Well, you know, I'm still gonna get.
Yeah.
Still getting it. Cool thing is sometimes you get little rough edges. Add a little texture. It's I gotta say, sometimes you make these flowers in the kiln and they look one way, and then when you're done cutting them, you rearrange everything and it gives them a more natural look. There we go. So we got that one. And the scrap glass, I just ordered these things. It's like a pot that goes in the kiln with some holes on the bottom, and you throw all your scrap glass in that pot and it melts. And it melts and it all oozes down onto a shelf, and you can like make it. The effects are so it's just totally random, and you get like this random sheet of glass out of your scraps that you can use for things. I'm really excited to get that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's called a pot melt or something. But one thing I've learned, I never throw anything away. I keep all my scraps, because you never know when you're going to need little slivers of red. So, the mold, you got to basically prime them with this aerosol lubricant. So I started playing around with them. I wasn't sure how long they're going to last. I'm actually pretty impressed at how long these will last. This keeps the glass from sticking. Here, I'll take that. So, you know, I like to play around. Like this one, I fired in this shelf, and I'm not 100% happy with it. This petal isn't red enough. I need to put another red piece there. I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know, one of these I might put on the wavy mold and see what happens. You know? I like to play around. This is kind of a playful thing for me. Like, I know for sure these are done. There's no point in refiring these. The glass has a nice soft texture, or smooth texture. They're objects. I'm trying to mimic like a desert flower.
Beautiful. You have always been making nature.
I love nature. I'm really inspired by my surroundings. Oh my gosh, dude, this is like a failed piece that I chopped up or broke with my hammer. This is the kind of stuff that's gonna go in that pot that I talked about. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So, you know, I'm doing something a little different here because people what they usually do when they're melting glass, they'll make a sheet and then they'll slump it, which is what I'm gonna do with this in the bowl, the big bowl mold. I'm going to slump it into a bowl. Some of these smaller molds, I'm not making a sheet. I'm making pieces, and then instead of slumping them, I'm doing a full fuse. It makes for like a really organic shape. Difference between slumping is the kiln gets 1250 degrees when you're slumping, or maybe it's 1280. It doesn't get quite as hot because it doesn't actually fuse the glass, it just slumps it. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a full fuse directly into the molds, which the kiln gets 1500 degrees. And I was worried about it damaging the molds, but I gotta say they're holding up pretty well. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create my own approach to glass fusing, you know? Because I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. That's one thing that I've always been obsessed with. I want to do something a little different. So they make this stuff called glass tack. It comes in a gel and a liquid. This helps out a lot. It's like a glue. This is going to be the center of the shape, or I'm going to make another flower. Here's what I'm doing. So I just got to put some glass on the bottom. Throw a little, this is plum colored frit. The shapes that I put have something to fuse to on the bottom. See, that piece is perfect right here. It's just a little bit too big. I grab my nippers and I'll just take some off. That's it. That's exactly what I did to this one right here. And you can see the frit on the base, and then all these pieces fused and slumped down and gave me this shape. You know, end up getting a bunch of cool little objects. I used to be really in my head about my work and thinking like, got to make some big statement. You know, it's got to be profound. And there's still part of that in me. I have this whole conceptual art idea that's a performance art piece. I can share it with you later. But I gotta say, since I moved up here and I got back into my artwork, I've really come to terms with the fact sometimes art just wants to be beautiful. Hey, you know what? That's like 5-10 minute little flower thing. I'm gonna fire in my kiln and I'm gonna get a cool little object. And people look at it and go, oh, that's pretty. It's like a flower. I'm gonna take that home. You know, you don't have to get too deep into your work. At least not all the time. You know, sometimes you just want to have fun. Well, I think I'm just going to make like a little flower coaster or something. A plum. I mixed a couple different colors in there. So this is fine frit. And, you know, make it look like it's got a little bit of a leafy action going on behind it, maybe.
You're dealing with only a certain type of glass.
Fusible glass.
Plate glass. What's the difference? What's that glass called?
That's stained glass.
So stained glass.
That's just sheet glass. It's right here. These are sheets of fusible. Okay, these are my sheets of fusible. I'm actually going to use this one right now. I'm going to try to make this into a circle. This is going to try to make this into a bowl.
So all these are different.
These are all sheets of Some of them change as they fire too. Like some of the clear ones change colors. This is non-fusible glass.
That is stained glass.
That's the kind of stuff they put in church windows and stuff.
Right.
That you just basically chop and shape. I try to mix them together. Tray I just made right here. These apples are fused. All these pieces of grass and flowers are fused. And the basket is stained glass. Just a sheet of glass I chopped up to make it look like a basket. Okay, so this one's done. So there's two. So this, it's really a shame because I like how this flower turned out, but this is really bugging me. So I don't know. It's
subjective.
Okay. Okay. This is when you're going to want to use the glass tack. Just ooze it around and, you know, so you just got the glass tack and it's sticking there. I might get an air bubble down there. I'm gonna go back to this one. Because if I get an air bubble, then it's gonna be garbage. This is like a little bush tray with some flowers. Get this light green color. Midnight blue. And what it'll do is it'll really darken that green. A little bit of the yellow. So I just mixed up a kind of a new color. So these little trays like this size, you know, I've been pricing them in the little gallery in town for about 50, 60 bucks, you know, I don't know. The amount of glass in there is not too much. I'm gonna add a little red on that. And that might solve my problem. You know, it's kind of like cooking. You know, you're like a little frit, you think, sometimes I feel like I'm adding some seasoning.
Totally.
Okay, so there's 3 molds ready to go. That's one thing I've learned is if any of the glass has anything on it now and you fuse it, it really fucks up the thing, you know?
Yeah.
It becomes rough and you can just see like, oh shit, there was like some fucking dust right there, you know? When I was doing those huge Harley shop pieces, I had to take this out of here. All the shit in the kiln, I had to put at the far end. I had 2 panels, boom, boom, in here, and the third one was stacked underneath. And this whole garage was filled with that fucking, all the glass that I was chopping for it, and I was firing my kiln, making shit. It was like 4 months where it was such a fucking mess in here. When I got that piece out of here, I fucking cleaned, I organized my storage. I had a bunch of old art pieces in here that I put up in my attic storage. And oh my God, you know how good it felt cleaning house after that big project?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna try to make some sort of flower. I'm gonna piece these together down here. Now it's like I'm mosaicing into there. It's nice and even everywhere. There's my base. Now I'm like making a modernist painting, and then I'm putting some flower petals around it. I was trying to make a flower when I made my first fire tray, and I pulled it out. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like flames. And I was like, that's a fire tray. Okay. I think this one's going to be really cool. I do, and I think it's done. So I just need to, hopefully they don't move too much. I'll rearrange them when I get it down here. Oops, but that's okay, that happens. I'm going to do 2 circular shelves on the top. Now I want these to get a little bit more heat. So I'll do the taller posts here so a little bit more heat gets in there.
Sure.
And I want these to have a little less heat. That bottom shelf is ready. I use a variety of things to help me with what I need to cut. Kind of just in search for my own personal sense of beauty. First, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of mimic nature and let it be wild and free-flowing. It's all a discovery process, experimentation. I mess around with a lot of different mediums, you know, like even with glass. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I sit around and make a bunch of mosaics. I end up merging them all together. I'm gonna try to make another flower light box. Glass illumins. These are my fine art. Sometimes I do lead soldering, sometimes I do glass frit with, you know, glue and beeswax, resin. I don't limit myself. You know, it's a practice. It's like a meditation for me. It's never been about money to me. It's always been about like a discovery process and a search for beauty, longing for beauty, harmony. You know, the world is a challenging place sometimes for people, and this helps keep me centered. It helps keep me grounded. I think I'm genuinely happy. And right now my theme is flowers, and it changes. Like I really want to do these portraits. It's in my mind right now. There's a portrait in my kitchen right now that you video. That's my first portrait, and I want to do these beautiful portraits of people in glass light boxes. And I did that one, and I want to do more. But that's one that I'm probably going to make drawings for. And there's going to be more preparation, which is But I don't limit myself to one thing. I'm really interested in a lot of things like technology and how it impacts our life. And I'm trying to put together an art piece about that. These are pictures that I had printed onto glass, and then I cut them and shaped them into Islamic patterns because it's about drone warfare.
Dude, that is really cool.
And these are basically like Taliban figures. This is before and after. But I want to serve people tea on these trays while flying a drone over their head.
Whoa, right, I get it.
And it's kind of about how technology is, impacting our lives, even warfare. I'm like, I don't have a favorite kind of art. So I need, I think I need one more shape there. Just trying to find one that's got a nice amount of red, and boom, I think that might be it. Yeah, that's perfect. That's going to be the center. That works there, and that works better there. I remember when I first went to the Guild and was renting that art space. Remember that one piece I made with the oil barrel with Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran?
Totally.
The guy at the party wanted to buy it, and then I wanted to hold on to it for a show that I never ended up having, and then he disappeared.
Totally.
And I remember going like, gosh, kicking myself, going, dude, that guy wanted to buy that for like $4,000.
I know.
And I was like, no, I need it for a show that I'm gonna have in a big shot gallery one day soon, and none of it ever happened. And it's like remembering lessons like that, where you were like young and dumb. Seriously, somebody walks in, I don't even hesitate. You like it, you want it, boom. I'm not holding on to nothing anymore. I think I'm gonna use the same frit I mixed up. I will probably cut the petals and have a nice little desert flower. These are done, and we will see how they come out in a little more than 24 hours. Whoa. Those are gonna make some good petals. I have to do a little chopperoo, but